Welcome Home Go, inspiring you to find ways to serve, engage, and make a difference. Making it easier for you to find hope in your busy world. Our original production on Good Life 45, where hope happens. Go, make a difference.
Hi everyone, I'm Barbara Beck, and I want to thank you for tuning in to Welcome Home Go. 30 minutes of discussions on challenging topics that will inspire you to go make a difference. This shorter version, spin-off of Welcome Home, was created because we know you're crazy busy, so we've made it even easier for you to find hope, grow in your faith walk, and then go and make a difference in this challenging world of ours. You'll still get the same meaningful, inspiring discussions on topics that we believe Jesus would want us to respond to by serving wherever we're called. Think about this. You've never locked eyes with anyone who was not created in the image of God. What if we saw every person as being uniquely, wonderfully created by God, deserving of our love, our care, and our attention? These next few minutes together, let's purpose to stop the busyness, quiet our hearts, and listen for God's still, small voice. Enjoy with me now. Welcome home, go.
Go, make a difference.
Oh, viewers, I am so happy that you're here with us today. We have an incredible program, and the three guests that you're going to be meeting, they are all about having a servant's heart. And part of the reason for that is Jesus is in them all over the place. And I've been visiting with them just for a few minutes before we went on the air. You're going to love them. You're going to get so much out of this. And I'm excited to introduce you to a ministry called Servant's Heart, where Sean Bailey is a board member. Welcome, Sean. Glad to have you here with us today.
Thank you.
Executive Director Chloe Battle. So happy to have you.
Thank you.
And then a community, what do we call you? A community partner, right?
Yes.
So the community partner is Shequila Roberts. And you've also been positively impacted by this ministry as well.
Yes, I
Right?
have. Yes.
All right, well, I want to hear your story. Before
Okay.
we get to your story, I want Chloe to tell us a little bit about what Servant's Heart is.
Well, sure. Servant's Heart Ministry essentially is a food bank. At its core is Christ. And as a Christ-centered ministry, what we try to do is deliver food with a message, a hopeful message for those that are struggling in transition in tough places behind enemy lines that need delivering, that need resources. And what we try to do is, through our community partners, people like Shequila, is to deliver that food and to deliver their testimony and their message as well. And
I love that. So you don't only give them the food, you're also giving them the message of Jesus Christ, hope in Christ. Sean, how did you become a board member? Why Servant's Heart?
Yeah, so I actually was a church planter pastor in my community, and there was an older gentleman that had been coming into the neighborhood. We happened to notice him in a van. Larry Godden is his name. Sweet man who was delivering meals to 12 different families in the community.
Wow.
And he was actually a community partner, is still a community partner for Servant's Heart. Okay. And so I kind of knocked on his window, said, hey, what's going on here? I was the president of the neighborhood association and really trying to get active, and here I was, a church planter pastor. And I didn't even know this ministry was happening in my back door. And he said, well, I don't even live in this neighborhood, so you can have my route. And so for 2 years, I got to deliver that route and really see what Servant's Heart was all about.
Now, I know the answer to this question, but I want you to be sure to articulate it for our viewers. But what makes your ministry, Servant's Heart, so different from just somebody coming into a walk-in pantry? There are plenty of places where people can go and get food. This is unique, right?
this is different because there's accountability. So we vet all of our community partners so that they understand the mission of Servant's Heart, that it's not just to deliver a bag of food at a doorstep or to check off a name on their list. It's to have a conversation with them, to make them feel like you're a neighbor in need and I want to help. They want to hear a story. They want to make sure that food is just the doorway. They start with food and it moves on to a bigger conversation. It could be about Christ, it could be about the church. It might just be coming to a weekend barbecue and starting a friendship. And so that's essentially what makes Servant's Heart different is it's not just a bag of food out the door, or you're coming up and you're giving a driver's license or a social security number and getting a bag of food. You're getting a conversation with another human being. And a lot of the folks that we're serving do feel isolated and ostracized in their own situations. So this is a chance for them to kind of be lifted up out of that situation.
Speaking of lifting up, Chloe, that was beautifully said. There is somebody who is super lifted up because of Servant's Heart, right,
Yes.
Shequila?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your story and how you were first introduced to Servant's Heart.
So I was first introduced to Servant's Heart by a ministry called Esther Single Moms Ministry. So they told me about this place to help me. So I go.
Because you are a single mom.
I am a single
right?
mom,
Tell
yes.
us about your little boy.
My little boy, Lorenzo, he's 8. That's my baby.
Aw,
Yes.
that's great.
Yes.
Hi, Lorenzo. He's watching.
I know. Hi, Lorenzo. And so I go, I call, and I'm on the phone with the lady, Miss Vicky. It was Miss Vicky at the time. I was on the phone with Miss Vicky, and something told me to drive there. I'm like, Lord, I don't have any cash. It's like, go drive there. I'm driving. At the end of the conversation, I'm about to hang up. She's like, you should come here. I'm like, I'm already outside. I go in, we pray, we talk. She was like, do you want me to put your name on the list? And I was like, no, I don't want to take it from somebody that may really need it, you know. So,
Why didn't you really need it at that point?
I mean, I needed it, but I didn't need it like that that very moment.
You did have food.
That day, yeah.
Right,
I
okay,
did.
that day you
That
didn't
day
need it.
I had food because I was living like day to day, literally.
What a heart you
with food.
have,
Yes,
though. That's
yes.
so sweet. I
Yes.
mean, you could have just said, sure, I want all the help I can get, but you were
no.
being sensitive to other people's needs.
Yes.
Okay, so what happened?
So she ended up putting me on the list anyway.
Okay.
And so I end up, me and my son was eating rice and nuggets. And actually he was at this point because we were down to the last of it. And
I want our viewers to be sure they heard what you just said. You have the only food that you have in your house at this time is some rice and some
Purdue
chicken
nuggets.
nuggets.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay.
Literally, that was it. And so we were down to the last of it. So, I was like, okay, I was so hungry. And my son, he's eating the nuggets and the rice. And he didn't know. He knew that I was hungry. And he offered me some. And I said, no, I'll eat what's left, I was starving, Then he did it again. I took a bite and he ate. Probably like the end of that week, I had about $3.34 in my account. And something came through, it made my account overdraw. So now I have a $34 overdraft balance. And so I go to the bank, I'm like, please waive this fee. Like, please waive. All I want is the $3.54. I planned I was gonna get some nuggets, 25-cent nuggets and some bread. It was gonna get us through another few days. I get there, they're like, Shequila, it's nothing we could do. We can't waive it. The computer is not allowing me. I put Lorenzo down on the ground and I'm like, Lord, like, what am I gonna do now? Like, I scream in the bank, like, what am I gonna do now? My phone rang and I pick it up and I'm like, who is this? I didn't recognize the number. And there was a guy on the phone. He was like, is this Shequila? I was like, yes. And he was like, I'm outside your house with food, with your bag of food. And I picked up Lorenzo and I ran. I never ran so fast. I ran to that house. I ran to that house and he was standing outside. I'm crying. I was like, oh my goodness. I just asked God, what am I gonna do in the bank? And he like immediately, like.
So what's in the bag of food? What's there for you?
Everything that I needed. I had enough food for a week.
Wow.
A whole week. And then I had extra meat because the lady that he went to before, someone had brought her a bunch of meat. So she was like, give it to the next person because I already have meat.
And that was you.
So I had steak, I had ground beef, all kind of produce. I even had toiletries, I had canned goods, I had everything. I was so excited. I was like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do Lorenzo, we're gonna, it was just, oh my God, that's how so after that, I was like, I have to be a part of this. I have to get involved. I have to because they came through for me.
See, I love that because that's what we're trying to mobilize our viewers today to find a ministry because there are lives like yours out there who just need a touch from Jesus. And that's all that was. And we can do such simple things. We can deliver a bag of food and let somebody know that we love them and that we care for them. We can find a ministry out there, but we've got to be the hands and feet of Jesus and just not sit back and think that all the Chloes and Shequilas and Sean's out there are going to do it for us. We need to be mobilizing. What did that do, Shequila, for your faith when you saw that bag of groceries out there?
I had been being tested so long. I almost lost hope. Like I said, I was behind enemy lines. Like my mom couldn't rescue me, my dad, they were all the way in Miami, you know, and I had to take what I had and use it or die. And I wasn't gonna die. I had Lorenzo, I wasn't gonna do that. So I got out my Bible and I just went harder. I went deeper. I started studying and getting in his presence more and more and more and more because I'm like, it's working. It's working. You know, like that food came, you know.
And it's giving you a testimony too, because now you have a job. You've started a not-for-profit on your own.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So my profit is called Determine Now.
Determine Now.
Determine Now.
Okay.
So
which means what?
Determine your destiny now.
Okay.
Determine what you're going to do tomorrow now, at this very moment. What are you going to do? Who are you going to affect? You know, how are you going to affect?
Right.
When are you going to affect?
Yeah.
Like, do it now, you know.
Right.
So it leaves no excuse. And the mission for Determine Now is to inspire families to use what they have and create intergenerational positive impact.
Oh, I love that. You came up with all that on your own?
Yes.
This is a lady, a precious lady, who is down to rice and nuggets.
Oh, yes.
And
That's
look what God has done with your life.
Yes.
Sean, it's no wonder you want to be involved in a ministry like Servant's Heart. Are there other stories like Shequila's?
There's thousands others. We get letters all the time. We actually have a feature on our website called Letters from the Heart.
Right.
And it's just stories of people. I mean, we get photos of a woman who is in a hotel room and you see I think 18-month-old baby sitting there on the bed. And I mean, it's just it's a sparse room. There's nothing else there. And to get to know that we have people that are going and delivering to her door, not just to deliver food. Food is great. It's the bridge, right?
Right.
But it's the prayer that we get to have with those people. It's the opportunity. I mean, I joke all the time with Chloe that food pantries are great, but we're the Uber of food pantries. We really are. We're the in-between there. And the cool thing is just like people who drive for Uber, they're just people. They're just random people who wanted a job to do something. Well, we can help equip the churches, the people like Shequila now who are doing casework type programs. Anybody who wants to be a part of that. Servant's Heart is really the middleman to help support those. And so we work with great groups like Second Harvest to get the food in our doors. And then we use volunteers and work with volunteers to deliver that out to all the different churches. We don't want to replace the church. The church is the heart and soul of the community.
Well, you might want to be involved. This might be the mobilization that you need, the encouragement to get you out there and maybe volunteer at a ministry like Servant's Heart. How can they do that, Chloe Battle? You are the executive director. What are some of your needs? Obviously, volunteers to be deliverers.
We always
leaders.
need volunteers to deliver food and be brave enough and bold enough to share that message and lift people out of those situations, walk alongside them, be good companions. We need people to help pick up groceries. Okay, so we acquisition groceries from all kinds of grocery stores, Save-A-Lot, Aldi,
They
restaurants.
donate. They just donate to you.
They just donate to us. We have contracts with them. Second Harvest helps us set those up, which is wonderful. Picking up bread from Publix every morning. Wow. It's not a glamorous job, but it's a servant's heart job.
Right.
And essentially, bread is a huge part of our bag. We want to break bread with the masses, right? Just the same way that Jesus did. And besides picking up groceries and volunteering and packing food, we need donors. And essentially, the bedrock of Servant's Heart has always been founded on private donations. People that just have Servant's Heart out in the community, and maybe they say, you know what, I don't have the time, or maybe I don't have the talent, but what I do have is my treasure. And I've been waiting to write that check to somebody that really deserves it, somebody that's doing God's work in the community at large, right?
You know, that is a way to go and serve. Sometimes people think they have to go across the ocean and go to Africa to serve.
Yes.
You don't. You can serve by writing a check. We want you to be out there doing what you can do, but not everybody can do that.
You got it. And I would love to share some great news with you. So we were coming down on some hard times several months ago and starting to think about some of our donors have aged out. Some of them have moved away to be closer to family. And so we were trying to figure out, how are we going to pay rent next year? You know, what is this going to look like for us strategically going forward? We had a fundraiser, an event where we shared some food, broke some bread, and we had a benefactor step forward and offer to pay our whole next year's rent.
Amazing. Praise God.
And for something like that, I'm getting goosebumps telling you, because for something like that to happen, that's God's way of telling us, don't be blind to those that are just willing to write that check for you, because that is their servant's heart, and that's what they want to help you do.
How did you get a servant's heart, Chloe?
Well, I started out as a contracted caseworker in the community. When I graduated college and I came down to Florida, there really weren't a lot of jobs in psychology and social work, which is what my degree was in. So I went and worked for the hotel industry, which most people do in Orlando. And that really wasn't my cup of tea, if you will. I felt like I was sort of climbing a ladder and not really feeling like I was making my way and serving. So God kept kind of tugging my heart towards social work and working with people in the community. I identified neighbors in need, and that's really how it started, is helping an old lady whose home was going into foreclosure and how to get her legal assistance and food resources and things like that. And I would just kind of do that with different organizations and pick up cases that really they weren't able to handle or didn't know the right way to go. And the way that I found Servant's Heart was that one of my clients needed food. It was as simple as that. And I walked in the door and I said, this is a local food bank or a food pantry. I met Miss Vicki, which was the director before me, and she was a great mentor to me and helped me learn how to become a community partner and deliver food and resources. But I just really loved the message and the fact that Vicki would sit there and she would pray with you and say, you know what, I want you to do this with the family. When you deliver that food, you're not just their caseworker, you're not just their social worker, you're not just delivering a bag of bread and meat. This is a chance for you to have that deeper conversation with them. And so she's been a great mentor to me. And I just really, truly feel like that was God's doorway for me to say, when she was retiring, like, hey, this is a chance for you to step up and not only donate your social work hours to Servant's Heart, but impact it in a way that it creates more of an outreach than just delivering that bag of food. It already had the message, it already had the food, but just creating a way to give people more resources, almost like a wraparound coach would do for families, is making sure that, okay, you've got food met. Now, do you need medicine? Do you need a walk-in clinic? Are you facing homelessness? Are you about to get kicked out of your hotel or your house? So things like that are really my forte. And so I start thinking about how are people going to move beyond that situation? And a lot of our families, 90% of our families, are in transitional cases like that, coming over from the hurricane disasters, right? We've got a lot of influx of Puerto Ricans and Venezuelans in our community now that we're trying to serve. But not only that, we've got a lot of grandparents raising kids. And if you look at the Orange County public school system, over 13,000 students are homeless or facing homelessness. We've got grandparents that are in their 70s and 80s receiving Social Security checks and trying to raise 8 and 9-year-olds. And so how do we help them make ends meet? Things like that, I feel like that's why I wake up every morning. And that's why I knew when God sent that person to pay our rent next year, I felt like, you're telling me this is a good thing. You like what Servant's Heart's doing. You want this to move forward. And so what I'm looking for, one of our biggest needs right now is, yes, the volunteers, and yes, picking up the groceries, but more folks that kind of want to step up and say, you know what, I want to help pay that utility bill for you. A lot goes into a bag of food, keeping the coolers on, the fans going, the lights on, you know?
We spent a lot of time last year working with coolers and freezers and keeping those things going.
The price goes up when things break down, right?
It's hard,
But I love that you care about the people, and the relationships, and sustaining a lifestyle that's going to help them live a victorious life in Christ. Because it's not a Band-Aid. You know, I love that, and I didn't even know that till you started telling me all this. I'd read it on the website, but until you sit face to face and you hear what you've just told me, Chloe, and I see that it is about relationships and helping that person like Shequila to have a life that is going to be able to that she'll sustain for her son. I think that is so rich. You're involved because, obviously, Shequila, because of what happened with you. Tell us what you're like when you go and you deliver a bag of groceries. What's it like?
It's very humbling. When I go, I take the bag. Before I even give the bag to them or to the family or to the young, a lot of times, one time, this specific time, it was a young boy, and he was kind of like being like the mom and dad. But he's no more than 10 years old. And so I said, where's your mom? He's like, she went to the store. So I took him to bed. I said, you want to pray? He was like, pray? And I was like, yeah, you want to pray? And he was like, is that what you did last time? And I was like, yeah, that's what I did last time. And he said, you gonna give me a big hug afterwards? I was like, yeah, give me a big hug afterwards. You know?
Sweet.
Yeah, so I pray with them. I ask them, you know, what are their needs? Do they need any school supplies, any clothes, and link them to different resources. So, you know, like Chloe said, it's not just the food.
Yeah.
You have the food right now today, but what do we need to do tomorrow?
I love it. Do you go back to the same houses each time?
Yes,
Yeah?
sometimes, and sometimes I get more families, different
Okay.
families, yes, so yes.
Yeah, the cool thing about the way that it works is essentially, like, I think about Jan, just great story of one of our community partners. He delivers to a local apartment community, and essentially in that community, he's actually found new people to deliver to because the other folks, through the prayer
Wow.
and conversation with them, they've been like, hey, Jan, I got a job last week. I don't need to get the food anymore.
But my neighbor does.
But my neighbor does.
That's right.
Will you connect it with
How
them?
awesome.
And so it's really a ministry that just continues to grow itself. And so as we can continue to expand and grow in that, we'll find more people that we can just share the love of Christ. And prayer is one of the most powerful things we get to do with them.
And it sounds
That's
like,
right.
I've heard a couple different things that you've said, that people are not wanting to take advantage of it. When you didn't think you needed a bag of groceries, you wanted somebody else to have it.
Yes.
When that lady she didn't really need the meat, she said, pass it on to the next person. That's God's anointing to me on this ministry. He's showing favor on you all and not allowing people to take advantage of the goodness of your hearts.
Right.
I want to ask you, Sean,
Yeah.
what gave you your servant's heart? I mean, you're a successful businessman. Why do this?
Yeah, so I love business and I love ministry, and I love when ministry begins to learn from the habits of business and that's really been my life's passion for a really long time. And to be honest with you, to see an organization like Servant's Heart that is doing, not to say like in business terms, but essentially, but doing the job better sometimes, even than local church can do. And I say that I'm also a minister. I was ordained as a pastor, and I look at that and go, wait a minute, the church can learn a lot from that. We spend a lot of money preparing for Sunday service. How much are we preparing for Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday in the homes of people, right at the front door? How often do you get an invite to come to the front door of a person?
Right.
And at the front door, I mean, I think of the grandmother who's taking care of 3 kids or things like that I experienced just in the 2 years that I did it. I get to pray with them on a weekly basis and bring them sustenance for the next week for them. The hardest part was actually when they didn't need the food and they just wanted you to come back. Hey, will you still come back?
Yeah.
Will you still come back and minister to us and be there? And so I've actually learned a lot, both as a businessman and as a pastor, that there's the simple things that people need. And how that is just the front door for the gospel in every way.
Well, you see what it did for you, Shequila, and how it changed your life to have somebody bring that bag of groceries for you.
Yes.
So tell me what message you want our viewers to hear today. I want to give each of you a chance. Think about it. If there was one more thing you could say, because we're almost out of time, what would you say to the viewer listening today, Chloe?
I would say if you think that there's something missing, if you think that you've been wanting to really give back in a way that creates a servant's heart for yourself, this is the chance to do that. Servant's Heart is so versatile in the way that we reach out. I think that there's something for everyone, whether you like working in an office setting, a warehouse setting, driving food, picking up food, writing a check, whatever it is. I feel like there's so much opportunity that, and to Sean's point, it's still so connected to the bedrock of the church that this is your chance to give back in a ministry way if you haven't really had that experience. And also just sharing with folks what you've seen today. There may be somebody that's not watching today that needs to hear this message.
Right.
There might be somebody hurting out there that needs to hear this message. And today's the day to do that.
What about the person that wants to volunteer, but she says or he says, I'm not equipped to do that. I can't share the gospel with somebody when I go knocking on their door. What would you say to that?
So one thing that I really feel that Servant's Heart has done well is a community partner orientation. And so during that orientation, we sit down and
So
we
you train
talk
them.
about, here's how you deliver a bag of food,
Perfect.
but here's the segue into another kind of conversation that you
Nice.
could have. It's a long-lasting friendship if you think about it.
Yeah, that's great. All right, Sean,
absolutely.
what about you?
To the church pastor, planter, or to the business guy, there's multiple ways you can get involved, especially as we're building our board and really beginning to grow. Like she said earlier, Servant's Heart has been sustained by the donations of $100 to $500, you know, every so often by individuals that are out there. Chloe's doing a great job going through the UCF program program to continue to further the organization and do all the things that we need to do to be a long-sustaining ministry. We want this to be here until Jesus comes home, because there's so much work to do to help and feed folks. And so just if your job is busy and your days are long and all that, we understand that, we get that. There is a season, though, that God will call you to serve. And for me, as I stepped into my current job, there was a season where Fridays were very flexible. And so every Friday, I came down to Servants Heart. I got there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I began to get the bags ready, because Friday is when all of our food deliveries really go out. And so I'd spend Friday from 7 to 11 spending my time there, and it was some of the most refreshing time that I've ever had. And so look for the season that God has called you to be
Love
able
that.
to do
Thank
that.
you, Sean. That is great. Shaquila, close us out.
Okay, let me see here. I would say to the single mom, entrepreneur, at-risk youth, I would say don't lose hope. You know, use your tools. They're there. The Bible is there. What's in your heart is there.
Amen.
And, you know, it was just like Hunger. I hate to refer to it, but it was just like Hunger Games when they pulled out. She was stuck behind enemy line. She pulled out the thing. It said, I have this tool. I have this ability. This. You have to use what you have, and just know that tomorrow is coming. It's going to be a better day and a brighter day, and just keep serving. Because a lot of times when I wasn't working, I had Fridays off, and I would go fill up my whole truck with food.
That's amazing.
Sometimes I didn't have a lot of gas. I go take it and give it out. I say, look, I'm not getting paid, you know, financially, physically, but my spirit man is getting
That's
full.
right, that's
so
right.
I would say just, you know, hold tight.
That's right.
Change is
Don't
coming.
lose hope.
Yes.
You are wonderful. Shaquila Roberts,
you.
community leader for Servants Hope. Heart. I said
Yes,
hope.
yes,
It could be Servants
is
Hope.
Yes.
It could be.
Thank you so much for
You're
being here
welcome.
with us today.
Thank you.
Sean Bailey, board member, you are awesome. And Chloe Battle, the work that you continue to do. May God bless your efforts
so
and
much.
continue to grow that ministry and profoundly affect many, many people out there. Thank you so
Thank you,
much for
Barbara.
being here
Thank
with us
you.
today.
Appreciate it.
Well, viewers, you have heard about how important it is to get out there and serve. It's one thing to talk the talk, that's easy. But after we hear about Jesus and we grow in Jesus, what's next? Well, it's time to walk the talk. Let's mobilize our families, our friends, our people. Let's do something to make a difference in someone's life. Maybe it's just one person in your life, but be the hands and feet of Jesus. We've shown you today how easy it is that you can become involved in a ministry like our guests, Chloe and Shequila and Sean, having hearts like a servant, selflessly serving others. But then isn't that what we're all called to do? Get out there and serve. Won't you find a ministry, whether it's Servant's Heart or something else, but something that you enjoy and that you feel like the Lord is calling you to do? Go, serve, make a difference.
Go, make a difference.
Powerful words and discussions, even challenging in a lot of ways, right? Well, it certainly makes me want to re-examine my own priorities. I want to make sure that everything I'm doing is in line with God's will for my life, being involved in ministries and activities that are pleasing to my Father, and never just spinning my wheels. Well, I know you're super busy, and here at Good Life 45, we want to serve you in the best ways we can and make it even easier for you to find hope in this challenging world. That's why our focus on Welcome Home Go is to encourage you to find ways to serve that fit your lifestyle and your set of God-given gifts. Friends, we need to be learning, applying our hearts to instruction, finding ways to be winsome to the world, but then going out and serving like Jesus would do. He would go and serve others. That's our calling. God's going to use you in ways you can't even imagine. So keep learning and growing, but take another step. You don't have to go across the ocean. Like the program you just saw, we want to share countless examples of ways you can change people's lives right here, right now. Go. Just make a difference in someone's life. And that's it for today. Thanks so much for watching Welcome Home Go. I hope to see you out there, and God bless you.
You just watched Welcome Home Go, a Good Life 45 original production that makes you part of our Hope Team here on Good Life 45, where hope happens.